So when we talked about the 3 M's, and those were, understanding your market, then recognizing what your message is going to be, and then deciding on the method that you want to use to go ahead and reach those. When the second pillar in there is really about operations. And this is, marketing is what goes ahead and drives them into your business. Once they get there, now we talk about operations and how you manage your business once somebody has actually arrived. And it's really what you do with your responses. And if you remember back when we were in school, they said, oh, John, you know what, you learn the 3 R's, you're going to do great. You'll be a success in life. And of course, the 3 R's that were reading, writing, and arithmetic. And now we just know why we've all landed up in the insurance instead. But in our business, we actually kind of look at it in the real world and saying, you know what, if you go through and you focus on our 3 R's, you can be successful. And the first one is retain your business. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's always fascinating to me when I talk to clients and I say, well, what's your growth plans for next year? And they'll say, oh, John, I want to grow 10%. Oh, that's great. What's your retention rate? Oh, it's 85. And, oh, okay, so next year you're going to grow 25%. And they get into an argument with me as to, no, I'm only going to grow 10%. And you realize that loss of clients, in order just to get back to even, you need to go through and replace those. And so the point is, on that one there, it's part of the way that you start growing is to stop shrinking. And one of the most important ways that you can do that is by rounding out your clients. And we'll talk a little more about each one of these elements as we go through. But if you look at your lost business, one of the biggest things that you'll notice with your lost business is that you weren't their only agent. They were actually writing other lines with your competition. And so part of that is I want to get everybody's business, from what I'm doing from a rounding standpoint. And then if you could all talk, if I unmuted you, I'd ask you what your most successful, most efficient way of writing new clients is. And what you tell me is, I get that from referrals. And so the point then is really, so last month, how much business did you write from referrals? And if I tell you can't say a lot, then you realize that we have to do a better job not only tracking that, but also promoting it on a regular basis. So retention is, why is it not 100%? Never ran into an agency who's ever had 100% retention. And what we want to look at is saying, okay, well, why did these people come to me in the first place? And you'll hear me talk later on in referrals about tracking your source to sale. So you might think you've got a great thing going on because, wow, look at all the business I'm writing from XYZ source, only to turn around and realize 12 months later, most of the business you've lost was stuff you wrote a year ago from XYZ as well. And so you realize that is important, and that's why I say at some point within your business, you always have to be looking out the windshield, but be aware of your rear view mirror. And if you think about your car, you actually, every one of us has that in there. And I would say it's in that proportion as well. I don't want you to spend an inordinate amount of your time driving in reverse, looking at the rear view mirror so you can go, quote unquote, forward. It's instead take a minute and look at the clients that have lost you and recognize whether or not any of that makes any difference as far as the way that you continue to go forward. The other thing is, on lost business, what are you doing to reclaim? In an agency I work very closely in, our number one source of new business for almost a year was our previous clients and going back out after them. And how we did that is we had actually created a postcard that looked exactly like this, because this is just a screenshot of it. And what we did is when you left us, we would set a date in our agency management system for 11 months or 5 months later, depending on where you were, or if you want to do it from a commercial line standpoint, you set it probably about 9 months into the future. And we just had a thing in there with Send Grass is Greener card. And we created this card and mailed that out to clients. And lo and behold, people were calling us back at the rate of about 22% of our new business came from previous clients. And like I said, part of what you want to end up doing, and this maybe too small as a screenshot to show you on there, but this is in the QQ Catalyst system, how easy it is to look at your cancellation report, and you will just identify those individuals who had this. There's another method that you can do in that system of really going through, and even under marketing, that you can actually create a distribution list based on expiration dates with a client status of inactive, and it would go out and create that, and you could email that out to them. I'm a big fan of the postcards, mainly because this is, I think, kind of catchy on this side. If you turn it over, it has some very nice language on there, and then we hand wrote all of the addresses on there. And anticipating some of the pushback on that, people say, oh, I don't have time to do that. In your mind's eye, imagine you have two of these postcards. This one has your name handwritten on the back. This one has a Avery 2160 label stuck to it with your name and address on there. In your mind's eye, throw one of them away. Most likely, every one of you would throw this one away, and on this one here, you may at least consider or possibly even respond to. So that's the key to doing that. And if it's a thing about time, believe me, it's not a race as far as doing those. You're trying to get people to respond, and that's the point behind it. The rounding on there, a lot of times I've actually had clients who said that they won't even pay producers or CSRs in the agency for going through and writing additional lines for current clients. And I think that that is ridiculous. I would almost pay more to my staff if I owned an agency to round out current ones, because there actually is an amount in there. Here's how you figure it out. Your formula is A minus B times C times D. A is your agency goal, and anticipating what you might think to begin with, oh, I want 100% of my clients. It's not going to happen, and here's why. All of you write clients who don't drive anymore. So you have the little old ladies who don't drive anymore. You're not getting their other lines. Some of you have multi-generational homes where now there's three generations living under one roof, all having different vehicles, only one roof to actually insure. If you go up to the state of New Hampshire, 22% of the homes in New Hampshire are secondary homes. So you can take that right off the top of the list. You're not going to have that. So if this is 80, let's say, then you actually go validate. And again, just pull up in your agency management system. And I always tell people, pick a letter. And just pick a letter, go through that letter and count. Do they have a home? Do they have an auto? Do they have a home and auto? Add up those three numbers, divide them by the home and auto. That just gave you your percentage of the actual number. And then your total number of clients is just that. If you had 1,000 clients on here, let's say, and your revenue per client, real simple. Divide your total clients by your total revenue. It'll give you your revenue per client. Then just do the math. And let's say an example with that. We want to be at 80. That's our goal. Then we're actually at 50. So that's 30% of 1,000 clients and $100 a piece. That could be an economic opportunity of $30,000 in additional revenue this year if you were to go through and account round them to that. And again, why you see this on here is within Q2 Catalyst, we actually put that up in your face every day when you walk in. If you set your dashboard widgets to be your cross-selling one, and in this case, I have a homeowners without personal auto, and I want to see my expiration date of the homeowners is between 3/28 and 3/29. In this case, I have it set at a floating date range of 30 to 31 days from today. So in other words, every day when I come in, literally my monoline clients will show up on that screen for me. And you can also run a report that does the same thing, and it's fascinating of how, if you're focused on those things, we'll do that. Just a note and point, the agency that I was just in down in Florida last week, we started them doing that. We started it on Thursday. I came back Friday afternoon because I had something else I had to do there on Thursday afternoon. Came back Friday afternoon, and we already had 2 of the 14 people that they had already responded back to a telephone call and an email in 2 days, less than 2 days, and they were going through the quoting process at that time. A lot of it is just getting a systematic approach to be focusing on that. with rounding on there, and why I say recommending competitors, because when you don't write all of your clients' lines of business, that's exactly what you're doing. It's like going into a restaurant and asking for getting an entree and a before-dinner drink, calling the waiter or waitress over and saying, hey, could you recommend within walking distance a place where we can go and have a nice entree? They would look at you like you're ridiculous, and yet that's what we end up doing when we're not asking for all lines of business. And when you look at it even from a renewal standpoint, are we focusing on that, or are we just saying, wow, if I can get 10 people from this side of the expiration date to over to the other side of the expiration date, I'm going to think that that's well worth it. And rather than looking at it and saying, wait a minute, who's renewing without the additional lines? Who do I need to upsell? Who are some of the ones that we can have? I always tell people look for the E&O opportunity as well. Everybody thinks that that means errors and omissions. What it actually means is employees and occupation. One of the things that we're doing in that agency is we're actually rerunning their renewal list to include the occupation field on the renewal list. So in that case, I can find out if I do have that hairstylist, if I do have an electrician, if I do have a small business owner, if they're going to be on there. The employees is do the same thing for your commercial policies. When you look at that, oh, I do have the workers' comp. How many employees do they have that's covered under my workers' comp, and what am I doing to market to that business, through that business, to their employees? And we're looking at it for a new, and why I say new in here is it's on your new business, it's on your existing clients, and it's on your was clients list on there. And I'll take some liberties with that. But it's going through and making sure that there is a new business commission to that. And here's what happens. NBC ran this thing of reruns a few years ago, and their slogan was, if you haven't seen it, then it's new to you. And we keep thinking about new business must equal new clients, and actually it could equal additional lines from current clients as you go through that. And even with that, of renewal reviews, and here's an account review worksheet that I have used with several clients on there that looks at, well, what are some of the things that have changed in the past year? What are some of the things on your current policy you go through? You flip it over, there's things about discounts applied and then how they pay for it to go through and try to improve your overall renewal, but looking for business from clients you don't already write. Referrals, and we talked about 3 R's: retain your clients, round out their accounts, and the last one is referrals. Who's asking for it? Again, I always get agents say, oh, it's my #1 source of new business, John. And then my next question is, really, so what do you do? What does everyone in your agency do on a consistent basis to go through and systematically ask for referrals? And then I just hear a lot of silence because we're not ending up doing it. We should be doing it with every interaction. And how you can do that is whether or not, oh boy, it's almost easy to do that nowadays because it doesn't always have to be verbally. You can be doing things you could have that on your Outlook signature for your emails that actually go out. You can use technology to be able to do that. I have one client who is actually making, thank you for your business. He sends out at a renewal standpoint, does a YouTube video thanking people for their business and letting them know that we're currently accepting new clients. So if there's anyone you would know who would appreciate this type of service, send them to us. We can go through, and in that case, for that client, it was his staff really didn't care to be doing the stuff and was uneasy with doing that. And they said, oh, nobody can do it like Jim can. And so that's what we did. We recorded him, and he uses that embedded in a link in your YouTube, in your emails. You can actually send it out. You could run a renewal list right out of your system, have that as a hyperlink that's in that message, send it right out to individuals. But the point is also you need to track where your new business is coming from. Again, this is an actual one from the client as far as where their information is coming from. Obviously, one of the things we're working on here now is some of the other. But you can see exactly where your business is coming from and really kind of understand that on a monthly basis, an annual basis. The agency I was in, we were 3 locations, and we tracked it for each of the locations. And then that helped us understand where should your advertising budget be, and then also making sure that you're not getting inundated with quotes from individuals that you're actually not writing, because that could actually be the worst case for your overall efficiency for that.